Today, we get to spend this 6 hours uninterrupted really diving into what makes us unique and what makes us human beings, what makes us a significant and valued individual. So for me, I think one of the greatest things we're gonna be able to do today is really helping people understand what it means to be human. There's two statements I think we have to be able to say at the exact same time in the same breath. No punctuation if we're gonna find any type of freedom in who we are as individuals. The two statements are this. One is, I'm wildly unique and there is literally nobody in the world like me. I think bar none, I'm gonna show you mathematically, statistically, it is impossible, based on the 13 words you're gonna have on this piece of paper when we're done, that there's nobody in the world like you. It's impossible. Identical twins aren't even identical, they should be called similar twins, right? Because they're literally not identical. There is nobody in the world like you. And same breath, no punctuation. I'm 100% regular, meaning that I'm no more or no less valuable than anybody to my left or to my right. The moment you think you are more valuable, you live on this side and you become a jerk. The moment you are less valuable, you become on this side and then everybody else supersedes you and has power to dictate what it is you will or will not do. There's a freedom in the tension of these two statements that I think if we can find what it is about us that makes us wildly unique and there's nobody in the world like us, and simultaneously the freedom that says I can stop looking to my left or my right and comparing my life to somebody else's purpose, all of a sudden in that space, there's a freedom to stand unapologetically in who we are and live life with an amount of freedom without comparing what I'm doing and being jealous that I can't do what somebody else was actually designed for. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna take a deep look into that. We're gonna start by looking at our thoughts, fears, hopes, and dreams. Inside of that, we're able to understand and nuance our insecurities and obstacles and fears. We have to start with that before we can dig into building the foundation of who we are, because we have to better understand the things that are inhibiting us from believing the truth about what makes us unique. We're then gonna jump into core values. Core values are defined as the why we do what we do. It's the most foundational piece. It makes up our reasons, intentions, and motivations for who we are as individuals. We then jump over to strengths. Strengths are how we do what we do, understanding how we do things in every arena and every role of our life helps bring clarity to our third piece, which is what we do. We call these identifiers. These are the 30,000 foot view pieces of how we would say what we do. Not just in what each word is, but the way that we define each word also gives nuance to what that actual word means, right? So multiple people in here have the word loving written down. None of us though are gonna use this, or authenticity or integrity, none of us are gonna give the same definition for that word, which means if I just know you value authenticity, my assumption then to interact with you on a values-based interaction, to assume that based off the way I define it, does you no service. My ability to communicate to you based on what you value, knowing how you define that word, is where the value is. Does that make sense? So not only do I believe it's our responsibility to know what we value, specifically we'll take the context of relationships, friendships, family, marriage, whatever that is, but to know what they value and then to know how they define what they value, because that's actually what they're saying. I meet a lot of people who use the word authenticity, vulnerability, things like that, and the way they define it is wildly different than the way I define it. So for me just to interact with you based on vulnerability the way I define it, what service is that to you? What value is that to you? Does that make sense? The nuance of that is really where we can get in to start understanding not only others, but also understanding ourselves. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Before we talk about what they mean and how to use them, we're gonna go around quickly. Everyone's gonna say, hi, my name is, say your name. You're gonna say the 5 things I value most are. You're gonna tell us what your 5 values are. Then you're gonna say the one I value most is, pause, quickly look at your list, circle one you value most, ready, go. I'm gonna then walk you through and show you how your values are related to your identifiers, your strengths are related to your identifiers. We're gonna draw lines between all those and then show you how you can read it. What do I do, how do I do it, and why do I do it? What do I do, how do I do it, and why do I do it? To give a language to what makes us specific, what makes us unique, what makes us individuals and brings value to our humanity outside of our ability to do a job, what makes us wildly unique and 100% regular at the same time. For me, the beauty and the tension of those two statements is the place I want us to land. I want you to leave with 3 things today. 1, the clearest picture of who you are as an individual you've ever had. 2, tools and resources in your tool belt to better understand self and others when you walk out of this building. And 3, I want you to be able to understand the people around you more clearly and more effectively, because the more we do that, the more we create community. I don't think any of us were meant to do this life alone, but in order to do it in the context of community and do it well, we have to understand ourselves before we can understand somebody else. At the end of the day, if you don't define your purpose, somebody else is going to define it for you.